say, the different parts of the forest were interconnected, and that if one part of that got out of balance, then that would affect the other parts of the forest, right? And so we often find that in our lives, that if we are on a certain track and then certain parts of our life get affected, it can throw us off, and it can disconnect us from the maybe the vision that we have, the focus that we have, the goals that we have. And just like a woodlot, it's so important to do what we need to do to stay in balance as much as we can. And life happens, and we all get that. Life happens, and life will throw things at us. And usually it throws things at us when we're doing really well, or where we feel like we're on course, and something will come along and sidetrack us. And so what he was doing was teaching me how we're connected, and how that's really important. And also how it's so important to connect with ourselves. That's what I didn't realize at the time until I got older, that what he was teaching me was so important to connect with ourselves. And why that's saying there's no Wi-Fi in the forest, and yet I guarantee you there'd be better connection.
Mm-hmm.
Why it's so important to me is that I realized that even more in my later years. And last year, a couple times, what I did was left London and went back home. And the fellow that bought our farm knows, that I may find a couple of those favorite places I used to have in the woodlot. Happened to last year, I found we have a family cemetery, and I went to that spot and visited my parents' graves, and then pulled out a chair out of the trunk and sat there. And this is out in the middle of nowhere, where there's no traffic. There's just the sound of the breeze, and the sound is way off in the distance. And it takes about 10-15 minutes for your ears to start to really tune into that and stop buzzing from the city noise. But when that happens, you start to connect with your own inner self and your own inner thoughts. And it's an amazing experience, and it's very powerful. And so whenever I get the chance to do that, I do it, because I really believe the connection with self helps us to connect with others. The more we connect with ourselves, the more we do with that connection and build that connection with ourselves, the more we're going to be able to open up to others. And so I wanted to share that with you all tonight. And I know a couple of you know me well, but John, you don't. But it gives you a better sense of where I'm coming from. I really believe that this connection is so important. And so when you see the posts on the Facebook, I don't know if you've joined, there's usually a real meaning behind that. So I thought each time we meet on a Monday, I'll explain that a little more so people understand who I am.